our buddy Seth Wickersham from ESPN is putting out there in the universe his new book that's coming out called It's Better to Be Feared. Great name. That's going to be published next week, or a couple weeks from now, actually, pardon me, on October 12th. And ESPN, I don't know how they got this scoop, but, I think it's because Seth Wickersham gets a paycheck. Yeah. And totally understandable. And look, the story coming out of New England for years, the whispers in the league that turns into shouts sometimes, it's no secret that Brady and Belichick were grinding gears, not just at the end of Brady's stay there, but throughout Brady's stay there. And they made it work, along with Robert Kraft, who was the one who hired Belichick away from the Jets as the HC of the NYJ, and then handed Belichick the reins that, as you know, Bill Parcells was gear grinding about with Kraft at the very outset of Robert Kraft's ownership of the New England Patriots. He wanted to shop for the groceries, and Belichick got a lot of what Parcells wanted. And he had the full reign of the franchise and made an incredible sixth-round draft choice, 199th overall. Nobody knew it at the time. But we all know it now, don't we? And throughout that entire time, the question is how difficult was it to be around Belichick when he was in charge of everything, and how Brady would take hometown discounts and how he felt about it and how he felt about not having enough of a say as to how that money that the Patriots were saving because of his largesse was being spent on players to support Brady, and how much Kraft was taking credit for all of it or what credit he was receiving for all of it. And then, of course, he would be left holding the bag quite a bit when there was Spygate and Deflategate and all the gates, and how that would fray at everyone's nerves. And how somehow, some way, they were able to keep it together for 2 decades, which we're never going to see again. Never. I'm very confident in saying you're never going to see coach and quarterback attached at the hip for 20 years anymore. And it worked. And, of course, this week we're all talking about why it didn't keep working after 20 years and 6 banners and all of that. I mean, this is not a new tale. But in the same way, when we on NFL Network make a television show out of the schedule, despite already knowing who plays who and who plays who where, we just don't know the when. Those are the important details, right? But you already know, the players and the storylines. Once they get together, the question is just a when. That's it. In the same way, we already know the players and we already know the storylines. We just now have a bunch of important details that we did not know beforehand. To wit, Brady wanting to say goodbye in person to Belichick and Belichick telling him he was busy, and they did it over the phone, where he told him he's the best player the league had ever seen. But just doing it over the phone showed how badly the duo's relationship had deteriorated over the years. Kraft calling Belichick once upon a time the, quote, biggest effing orifice in my life. I don't know why I could say effing but not a-hole, but I just did.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he did that.
The concept of we were all talking about Belichick handling the succession of Brady. How about this? Bill O'Brien told a colleague he tried to get fired as coach of the Texans because he thought he might be able to succeed Belichick, according to this book.
Yep.
Bill was an idiot savant, Robert Kraft told a confidant, according to the book. I gave him this opportunity. Again, the credit conversation. If there was an NFL franchise in Los Angeles, Tom Brady might have been trying to force a trade there earlier, according to those close to him. I don't want to play for Bill anymore, Brady is quoted as saying to friends that he told people close to him in 2017. After the league meetings in 2008, in full bloom of the whole Spygate stuff, Bill Belichick and Eric Mangini had a fist fight.
Wait, what?
What? Because Mangini's wife, Julie, tried to ease the tensions, and Belichick, according to the book, blew her off. When Eric found out from Mrs. Mangini, that's when the fisticuffs nearly went out. Mike Martz, The Rams coach in Super Bowl 36. Now, our buddy Marshall Faulk swears that they had their red zone practices recorded in the Superdome. He said that before. Mike Martz thought that New England had videotaped the Rams practices during the week. He told a confidant, according to the book, I'd like to hang Belichick by the hashtag D's nuts. Oh, yes. And then one of the greatest mysteries that we've been talking about in Super Bowl history.
That's right.
We're like, will we ever get an answer as to why Marshawn didn't get the ball on the goal line a second time, right?
Right.
In the Super Bowl where Malcolm Butler jumped in subsequently and grabbed an interception. And we all know the history of who has the ring and who does not. Mm-hmm. Well, then, the Super Bowl in Minnesota, Patriots v. Eagles, Malcolm Butler was a bench, but a dress, but a bench. Not a healthy scratch. He dressed and then was in one snap.
On special teams.
And then we all know, Nick Foles had a day. Mm-hmm. Could have used Malcolm Butler. According to the book, in the lead up to Super Bowl 52, Malcolm Butler and defensive coordinator Matt Patricia traded heated words at practice over the former Super Bowl's hero's lack of effort. At a team party after the loss, Butler responded to teammates asking why he was benched by saying, "These dudes," referring to the coaches. According to the book, these, and then there is a word that I really won't even attempt to say.
Can I say it?
Well, no. And that's just for starters.
Yeah.
So we all know media's all over the place in New England this week.
Man.
Do we have it? What Belichick had to say? Because Belichick stepped up there and he just talked about the elephant in the room. Anything going on?
Hey, guys, any stories
That's what he said. Any stories this week? And we're waiting to hear how the rest of it went. I mean, because that's apparently going on right now. I imagine he's moved on to Tampa Bay, who, by the way, will field Richard Sherman. As if this game doesn't have enough of a backdrop in which Brady is returning to the place where he raised six banners to take on the head coach, whose relationship with him definitely was strained and frayed or what have you. And it's totally reasonable after 20 years of working together in the NFL when that doesn't ever happen. And the fact that Brady's coming back and he's going to set the all-time record for most passing yards in a game when he throws for his 69th yard.
Nice.
Which is definitely the word that Gronk would use for that, I'm sure.
It has to go to Gronk,
And
by the way.
So,
Has to.
That's going to happen on Sunday night. Now, Richard Sherman, who's a free agent, he signs with Tampa. And he announced it in his podcast, which we're still scrubbing and listening to. Does he talk about his personal
He mentioned his
stuff that's going on with him?
What's going on in the offseason. To begin the program, I was only a few minutes into it when the
Okay. He's got a pretrial hearing scheduled for Friday. Yeah. He's going to play Sunday on Sunday Night Football in front of the whole country in the most watched regular season game we're going to see in quite some time. Arrested in July in connection with an incident at the home of his wife's parents. We all heard about it this summer, and we were all shocked because it was, you can't even use the words out of character for him. He's pleaded not guilty all 5 charges, misdemeanors, including 2 counts of domestic violence, criminal trespass in the 2nd degree, and malicious mischief in the 3rd degree, resisting arrest, driving while under the influence, reckless endangerment of roadway workers. So I'm imagining that will all get addressed. According to all reports, the Buccaneers did their proverbial due diligence and feel like everything's in place. So Mac Jones is going to look down and see one of the greatest shutdown corners this league's seen in this century. And Brady's the one who called him up and said, "What's up? Why don't you come play with me?" Which is exactly the type of stuff he wanted to have in New England.
Yep.
And which is why Seth Wickersham, the author, puts the finest point on it for this week and for his book. I'll read to it. Tom Brady had been curious if there was another way of winning. And while nobody was arguing that Bruce Arians was a better coach than Bill Belichick or even close, the seamlessness of Brady's proficiency and performance was making his former coach's methodologies look antiquated, even silly. It was better to be feared, but was it necessary? That's your backdrop to Sunday Night Football. OMG. And Brady's talking today. At least he's normally scheduled on a Wednesday. Everybody's going to put this in a box of the week, I'll tell you that. Now, according to this story, and, but Wickersham was on a couple of weeks ago and said that he has talked to Belichick and he has he has obviously relationships with these guys. According to this story, Belichick, Brady, and Kraft all would not be interviewed for this book. But there sure is a ton of background information, it seems. Patriots did not respond to requests for comments on this story I just read to you from ESPN. That is bullet pointing so many things from this book. I left out a ton.
Yeah, Albert said that Bill was asked to characterize his current relationship with Tom Brady a few minutes ago. Quote, good. It's always been good.
I'm sure Brady feels differently, and I'm sure that's the way Belichick views it. And I just want to put one last point on this for the moment. This is going to be something we're going to tell forever, and there will be another 30 for 30 or something like it coming out a decade from now where we'll hear more and more and more and more and more.
Hopefully we won't have to wait a decade.
This went on for 20 years. We're never going to see it again. It was one of the most successful relationships, strained or awkward or however you want to put it, ever. Owner, coach, quarterback, ever. There's 6 of those banners that'll be on display on Sunday night. 6 of them. So there's that. It's just the question about the Machiavellian way of living life. Look it up if you need to. Right. I will just tell you. Do the ends justify the means? Is it better to be feared than loved?
Yes.
Absolutely.
20 years and 6 banners, I think, give you the answer on that in the NFL. Now the question is what happens Sunday night and what happens now that the two of them have been separate. One of them already has a Super Bowl. Oh, man.
I think we're going to see a 50 burger, man.
The Red Wedding is what Tom Curran
coming.
has to say.
From Mike Giardi, Rich. Belichick claims that the report he didn't want to meet with Brady in person, quote, not true.
Okay. It's all coming. Well, these questions are all going to be there.
Yep.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.